Hello student, I'm Mr. Liang. So in this video, I'm going to talk about worksheet number 3. So it's about absorption. So for the absorption part, remember that absorption is a movement. So that's why we need to talk about from where to where. So absorption is the movement of the useful nutrients from the lumen of the alimentary canal into the body fluid. But what are the body fluids? So according to the textbook, we mentioned it before, it is blood and lymph. But why we need blood and lymph? Because refer to the criteria of the useful, so-called useful nutrients. That means the digestive food. Okay, it must be small, simple, and soluble. And for soluble, it can be either water soluble or fat soluble. For example, salt, glucose, amino acid. Okay, they are water soluble. And for the fatty acid, glycerol, and maybe vitamin D, so they are fat soluble. So that's why for the water soluble and fat soluble nutrients, they need to go to blood and lymph respectively. For the water soluble substance, they will go to the blood capillaries and carried by the blood. And for the fat soluble digestive food, they will go to the lymph and go to the lacteal and then carried by the lymph. Okay, so that's why remember that absorption is a movement, and that's why we need to consider the direction, and then also how can we carry or how can we transport the digestive food. Okay, and then how can we absorb it? By diffusion and also by active transport. By inputting energy, we would like to absorb all of them, okay, from the small intestine to the blood or to the lymph. Okay, we would like to absorb all of them. And also for water, okay, how can we absorb water? So it must be osmosis. Okay, so remember that in chapter 3 we talk about diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. Okay, and now even we are in chapter 6. Okay, actually we still need to know the concept in previous chapter. So where does absorption take place? So remember the keywords. Mainly take place in the small intestine. Okay, the words mainly, because maybe in MC questions it may be a bit tricky. It will ask you that the statement is absorption only takes place in the small intestine, but of course it's not correct, because absorption, okay, once the food is simple enough, small enough, and soluble, and actually they can be absorbed. For example, water, for example, salt. Okay, they can be absorbed directly. Okay, or even alcohol, they can be absorbed directly. Okay, so remember mainly the keywords. Okay, and then we go through the in-class activity 1. Question 1 is talking about this setup. Okay, this setup is demonstrating 2 physiological processes in our human body. So what is the meaning of the physiology? Okay, physiology, that means the body function. So that means this process, okay, this setup is demonstrating the body functions of our human body. So what we can see is that thallus tubing. Remember the feature or the characteristic of the thallus tubing is that the wall is selectively permeable. Okay, and that's why it can let something going out or going in. Okay, but depends on maybe the size, maybe the nature. Okay, so in the thallus tubing we have the starch and also the M side. Starch is a large and complex molecules, and with the M side, what is going on? Okay, it's not that difficult to understand that, because the M side, it can speed up. Okay, it can speed up the breakdown of the starch. Okay, maybe the amylase, maybe the maltase. So you can refer the name of the M side in worksheet number 2. Okay, I don't talk much about this. Okay, you can check the worksheet number 2 by yourself, the name of the M side. And after the breaking down, okay, so somehow there will be small simple molecules produced, for example glucose. So that's why they are small enough to pass through the wall of the thallus tubing and go outside to the water, okay, surrounding the thallus tubing. And also you can see that 37 degrees Celsius. How is it so special? Because the whole setup is demonstrating the human body. So that's why we put it 37 degrees Celsius is not that difficult to understand. So for part A1, part A2 is that, which part of the human body is represented by the digestive tubing and also the water. Recall the definition of the absorption. Okay, so we need to absorb the food from our alimentary canal to the body fluid. Okay, so which type of what body fluid we can think about? For water, or for blood, or for lymph. Okay, the main component is water. And also if the food substance, okay, of the starch, it will be broken down into glucose finally. So glucose is also water soluble, so that's why it's easy to understand that, okay, the water, it should be the blood, and the digestive tubing actually is that is just represents the ileum or the small intestine for the site of digestion. Okay, that's the part A. And then for part B, okay, just name the two physiological processes that were demonstrated by the experiment. So the first part is that what I mentioned before, what is happening inside the digestive tubing. We have the enzyme and we have the starch solution, and then actually we would like to break down the starch into smaller molecules, okay, small simple soluble molecules, the glucose for example. So that's why it should be the digestion, right? And for the second process is that we call the selective permeability nature of the wall of the digestive tubing. That means if something they are still too big, too large, it will not be able to go outside of the digestive tubing. Okay, so they will be kept inside the digestive tubing. So that's why there must be something small, simple, and then they can pass through, okay, to this selectively permeable wall of the digestive tubing. So that's why it should be the absorption, okay, because outside the digestive tubing, okay, there is the water, and water actually represents the blood. Okay, remember that? It's just in part A. So that's why the food, okay, pass through from the alimentary canal to our body fluid. Okay, so that's the definition of the absorption. Okay, and then after this question, we talk about I would like to talk about the villi. Okay, so in the small intestine, we have the highly folded wall, inner wall of the small intestine. So the finger-like projection, we call it villi, and for the singular form is the villus. Okay, and for the villus, we have the blood capillary inside, and also we have the lacteal inside. As what I mentioned before, blood capillary can carry the water-soluble molecules, glucose, amino acids, salts, and water. And for the lacteal, it will carry the fat-soluble substance. Okay, so after the fatty acid and glycerol pass through this epithelial cell, so they will be combined to form fat, and then the fat will go into the lacteal and then being carried away. And what I would like to mention is that the direction, okay, or the flow, okay, for the food, how can they be carried, transport, okay, through our body. So for the water soluble substance, they will bring by the they will be brought or carried by the blood, and through the hepatic portal vein go to liver first, and then go back to the heart. And then from the fat soluble substance, they will go to the lymph vessel, and then go to the blood vessel, and then they will also go back to the blood circulation later on. Okay, so finally, okay, the blood, they will carry all types of food substance, okay, to our body parts. Okay, so now we are in chapter 6, but later on when we are in chapter 8, remember, okay, in the circulatory system, okay, in that chapter we need to know the name of the blood vessels. From the small intestine to the liver, we have this vein, hepatic portal vein. But from the liver to the heart, we have another vein. It is hepatic vein. Okay, so we call the name in chapter 8. And also this diagram, I would like to show you that the villus, okay, or the villi, okay. So in the epithelial cell, okay, if we zoom in, we can see such arrangement of the epithelial cell. what I would like to focus is the highly folded cell membrane of the epithelial cell, okay, the surface cells. They are highly folded and they are called microvilli, okay, smaller one, but it can also increase the surface area, okay, for the villi to absorb the food quickly, okay. So for this question, very easy one, okay, we have just learned it, okay. So on the left hand side we have the villus, and on the right hand side we have a cell, and these cells, it asks that in which part A, B, C can cell Y be found, okay. So not that difficult, part A, it must be part A, okay, epithelial cell, okay. And then for part B, refer to the diagram, okay, refer to this figure, okay, the cell Y, okay, state and explain two features of cell Y which facilitate the absorption of the product of the digestion. So that means facilitate the absorption of food, right? So adaptive feature again and again, link structure and function together. So that's why take a look at the structure. So for the R, okay, structure R, they are the microvilli, okay, highly folded cell membrane of cell Y, okay, that's the structure. But why, okay, why is so good to have them and facilitate the absorption? You need to explain, okay. And then for the other one, think about there are a lot of structure Q, okay, in the cell, and the structure Q, they are the mitochondria for the plural form. If we only talk about the one single one, okay, so it should be mitochondrion, ION, okay, but now I put it in the plural form, so mitochondria, okay. So how it's so important is that the cell membrane of the cell Y is highly folded, okay. You can put one more word, highly folded, to form many extensions, so that's why it can provide a larger surface area for rapid food absorption. So you can feel that, okay. How can we answer such question? Okay, remember adaptive feature, you need to explain why it can perform so well, but not just explain why it can perform it, okay. Our focus is how or why it can perform so well. So that's why we need many words, okay, to try to show that it's a bit superior, okay. Highly folded, larger surface area for rapid food absorption, okay. Or the second one, okay, the second feature, cell Y contains a lot or a large number of mitochondria, okay, and then it can provide sufficient energy or provide more energy for rapid active transport or for the active uptake for rapid food absorption. So you know, why do I need to add so many adjectives, okay, to say that larger, bigger, faster, more, something like this, okay, because we are going to talk about why it can perform so well. In this question, we are going to take a look at this figure, which shows the structure found in an animal. So perhaps you can imagine that it's a very special shape or pattern of human being. So that's why you need to know the direction, okay? From A, enter the body, and then B, C, and then for this process C, okay, there's something it can work for the metabolism, and then for D, it will be removed, okay, from the body. So and then TUV, okay, TU and then V here. So probably you can see that we put something in T, okay, and then for B, for U to process, and then after V it will be removed. So somehow for the whole chapter we are talking about digestion. So that's why it's not that difficult to imagine that for T it should be the mouth cavity, okay. Now some books will use the word mouth, but I prefer mouth cavity more, okay, because it can really describe the space, okay, the a special structure here, okay, not only the mouth but the mouth cavity. And then for U it will be the stomach, and then for V it will be the large intestine or the colon, because after this structure, okay, that something will be removed from the body, so it should be TUV here. And then after that we need to know that for the whole organism, okay, name the characteristic of all living things that are represented by this figure. So you can recall the 7 characteristics of the organism in chapter 1, okay, and then pick up that, because for the whole chapter we are talking about the digestion, okay. So somehow we need to know that it includes ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and also the ejection. So actually that's the process of nutrition, right? And for A, B, C, okay, so what will be the process? Okay, so for A, we put something into the body, and then for B is about the digestion, okay, and then for C, the something go into the body for the metabolism. That means you can use it. So that's why it should be nutrition, ingestion in A part, okay, and then digestion in part B, and then for part C it should be absorption, okay. And then for the part D is asking adaptive feature again and again. Villi are involved in the process that occur at C, okay, that's what we know. It should be the absorption in the small intestine. So explain how the villi are adapted to carry out absorption, this process, that means absorption. So remember, adaptive feature, structure and function, link them together, and then for 3 marks we need to know 3 adaptive features. So for the first feature is that villi provide a large surface area for rapid absorption. And then on the wall of the villi, that means the epithelium or the epithelial cells, they are single cell. That means they are 1 cell thick. Okay, so the diffusion distance is just very short. So that's why, and also it is permeable to the digested food. So that's why we can absorb the food from the lumen of the small intestine through this 1 cell thick epithelium and go into maybe the blood capillaries or the lacteal. And then inside the villi, okay, we have the blood capillaries, they're going to carry the water-soluble products, and then the fat-soluble products will be carried by the lacteal, that means the lymph inside, okay. And for the blood capillary, we have the blood inside to carry the soluble end products. Or you can also say that, because in previous slide we learned that the epithelial cell, there is also the highly folded cell membrane. It is talking about the villi, okay. So we can focus this single structure for provide large surface area, and the epithelial cell, single cell, 1 cell thick, and inside the villi we have the capillary and also the lacteal to carry the food away rapidly. So that's why it can also maintain a steeper concentration gradient for a faster diffusion of the food from the lumen of the small intestine to the villi. Okay, so that's something I would like to talk about in this video. So if you have any question, leave it below. I will answer you as soon as possible. Bye bye.